right, well, joining us today to break all this down is entertainment lawyer Mitra Ahouraian. Interesting to hear our audience reacting to this interview, Mitra. Yeah.
Welcome back, Mitra. It's so great having you here. I just have to say a couple things that I heard from the excerpts of that interview. Amber talks about social media and social media's effect on the jury, but social media is not supposed to affect the jury in any way, right?
Well, yes, and they actually were instructed not to look at social media. That was a really big point that the judge made, is that they are not to look at social media, they're not to look at anything online, and so how could they have been swayed by something that they supposedly did not see?
So what is the difference between sequester? What is that when you hear sequester versus an instruction?
Yeah, and to be honest, they probably should have been sequestered. Sequestered means you're put up in a hotel and you have pretty much no contact with the outside world.
Yeah.
And that probably would have been appropriate in a case like this, but I don't think anyone knew how big this was going to be.
Yeah.
So
it's hard to say what they were doing in their spare time at home, if they're looking on social media or not. That said, given that, the jury was instructed when given, you know, these are the things you have to consider to prove defamation. They had a set of 42 questions that the judge gave them and said, you have to prove all of this. That seems like a high bar, right? I mean, what else? What was some of the evidence that they had to consider in that?
Yeah, so when we talk about juries, they typically go into a room, there's a jury room, and they go through all of the evidence that they have. They look at those jury instructions very carefully. The jury instructions are actually crafted in conjunction with both lawyers on both sides. So they have to kind of give their input on what those questions are going to be. And so the jury, typically, you remember the stuff at the very beginning, which we call primacy in trial prep, and then the stuff at the end, which is recency. So they really got to get to all the meat, the meat in the middle to try and remember what that was, and then apply the law and try to make that fit into what the instructions say. So it's not an easy thing. It's an important task, and it's not easy.
So Amber's legal team, they said they're going to appeal. What, in your opinion, would be the components for a successful appeal?
Yeah, so one of the things that we talked about is they're arguing as grounds for appeal is the fact that it was so unfair to her on social media, it was so unfair to her online, that must have somehow influenced the jury. So if the jury was not looking at anything online, how could that be grounds for appeal? How could that be something that influenced the jury's outcome? If she was able to actually find an instance where a jury did see something online, and we don't know if that happened, then that would potentially be grounds for appeal.
That'd be really hard.
I'm sorry. Would that be on gender or something like that? I just don't see where the leap is.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be a procedural error. It would just be that a mistrial, right? So they were ordered to do something and they went against that order, and that affected the outcome of the case. So that's an important element of it too, is
and they
establishing.
Have to prove that happened.
Exactly. It can't just be a presumption that they saw, that they were looking at their phones, or a family member said something at home, or they checked their email and accidentally saw something online. You have to be able to prove that.
So by what you're saying, it sounds like it might be very hard to prove that there was an issue with social media in this.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, how would they go? Yeah, how would they go through that and actually prove that and find that? That seems like, I mean, a needle in a haystack to be able to prove something like that.
It's not going to be easy. I don't know if it's, looking at their phone records. I don't know if it's looking at, asking family members, asking them under oath what happened, seeing if, perhaps asking them, what were you doing in this time? Did you ever check your email? Those types of questions. But it is a hard thing to prove.
Yeah.
Can I say this before we go? I know everybody talking about how sharp Johnny Depp attorney was. Girl, this is sharp. This whole outfit is tight, sharp.
Thank you.
I'm looking at your shoes. Tight.
I'm just trying to keep up over here.
Yes, you look amazing. You look amazing.
Mitra, thanks for breaking it all down for us again today.